Well, hello again. You know, I've been sitting reading some of this so-called news on the computer. It sure seems to be a sad state of affairs. Boy, people, we got all kinds of problems. But you know something? Society has caused all their own problems. Yeah, that's got nobody to blame but ourselves. I listen to oldies radio stations and that. And there was that singer Cher. I think she's still around somewhere. But I liked her when her and Sonny Bono had that TV show way back when. And come along, and I still liked music, but I never paid attention when I was young to what kinds of, social commentaries some of those singers were putting out. And there was always some really good commentaries. Now, I'll share. I was sitting listening to her song she made, Half Breed, about being her dad married an Indian, and he had this medicine wagon that he drove around. And half-breed, how she learned to hate the word. Okay, and then she made another song. That got me to thinking about gypsies, tramps, and thieves. That's a saying that used to be around. Now, old Adolf Hitler, they talk about Jews and everything, but one of the groups of people his people tried to wipe out was the gypsies. They were real social group. When I was young, I was a kid. I was probably 15. I was probably 16, 15, 16. My mother and I was out shopping. It was just before Christmas while. Back when Christmas used to actually be Christmas and Thanksgiving was Thanksgiving, had its own time. Halloween was quite a thing in them days. That was back in the 1950s and early 60s. But anyway, there was this Christmas tree lot. They had this whole area on a corner, a vacant lot in this town, and there was fir trees, different kinds of trees, out there for Christmas trees. And there was a trailer being pulled by a pickup truck, and another couple of cars was there sitting on the street. And my mother stopped and pulled over and watched. She says, "Watch." We was on the other side of the street. We was over 200 yards away from where this was going on. Well, this fella was in there, and he was talking. He was looking at these trees, and he was talking about it, and he was arguing prices and stuff, I guess, away from the actions. And, well, here are a couple of kids, young people. They weren't, they were teenagers maybe, one, and then a smaller one that was a preteen. They come out, slipped around, and they looked, and they hoisted up this Christmas tree, and they ran over, hauled it over to this trailer that was sitting there at the curb, and somebody opened the door as they were running up, and they stuffed the tree inside. Well, a few more words were said by this guy to the owner or whoever was running this lot. They got off with a Christmas tree in that trailer. And that pickup truck pulled that trailer away. A couple of cars followed. Then there was another little while, a few minutes later, there was another car pulling a trailer. Now we call them RVs. But they went by. And you could tell they were all together. Well, my mother, she sat there and she chuckled about it. She says, I said, well, how did you know that was going on? She says, oh, I've seen those people before. They're gypsies. And it used to be that you'd see them around. But they've been wiped out. I got to thinking about it. You go back into the Old Testament, the book of Ruth in the Bible, and in there's a thing where this widow lady and a couple of widow ladies was out going into the grain field, picking up grain out of the field that had been dropped. Well, it said in there, the law at the time, that when man went through harvesting the grain, whatever got dropped on, they had to leave, because that was what the widows and the people came out and picked up, so they'd have grain and stuff. And it was with all the different commodities. And well, that was their welfare plan. They didn't give them. They didn't take their pride away in that. They give them the opportunity to go out and take care of themselves. Forage. Well, there used to be a lot of people. They used to have there used to be people that come up out of Mexico along the Mexican border, and they'd start in the spring when the first fruit and stuff was ready to harvest, and they'd work their way all the way up to the north during the summertime and everything. And then after all the harvesting was over, all the fruit and vegetables and everything else, they'd turn around and they'd go back down go home. Well, that was the way it was. There was people that come out of Texas and down there and they'd have big combines. And when the grain was ready to harvest along through the Midwest, they call it, up through Kansas, Oklahoma, all that area, Texas, all. Well, it would ripen down in Texas and at first, and these groups with these combines would go up and they'd move north as the harvest went until they got into Canada, clear up to the Canadian border. I don't know whether they went into Canada or not in them days, but they get it clear up by the border. They'd wind up in South Dakota and Montana and through there. And then they'd turn around and go back. Well, they'd use that machine they had so much, they'd have to buy another machine for the next year. Well, you don't see that anymore. It's all gone. Because, well, and you'd get people go out picking up aluminum cans and stuff. Well, aluminum cans used to be heavy. 10 of them, I think, make them almost, I can't remember how much it was, but aluminum cans were about 3 or 4 times as thick, had as much aluminum in them then as years past as they do now. And there was all kinds of things people used to salvage, and you'd see people doing this, and in these all these markets that show up on Saturday and Sunday, people that go in, they'd have decent stuff, they'd have good stuff, and they'd have decent prices and everything. That's all gone. See, they've turned all that stuff into a business now. Scrap metal, that was a business for people that didn't have. They'd use it, they'd get it, use it for something, fix, do, used car parts, everything. Those were businesses that people had. We always had hobos and bums and that. But now, all this homeless and everything, that's not, they're outcasts. They're not people living on the fringe of society. They're outcasts. The people that are in charge of all the money, all the businesses and everything, have just kicked them out. Got no use for you people. Get out. You want to talk about just all these wrongs that are being done in society? Well, look at the people that have been kicked out. Need to change things somehow. We need to go back and give people a way to make what they used to have. Tar paper shanties and tar paper villages aren't a bad thing. They're what people could afford. Now they're homeless people and they're trying big money to go and save the homeless, give them a place to live. No, giving them a way to get it themselves. Think about it. I ask God to bless you and have a good day. Talk to you again.